Just a very, very quick, maybe follow-up question. As you are presenting the agenda, it's a very positive agenda about TTIP, also about other trade negotiations, and even slight positive about WTO. I agree.
Optimism is a duty.
Exactly. When we're looking at the different pressures on Europe right now, in terms of refugee crisis, in terms of challenges, youth unemployment, etc., would you say that these processes are pushing the agenda forward, or do we face challenges in keeping the European Union really focusing on bringing these important agreements to a conclusion?
Well, of course, there are so many things on the European agenda today, and many important challenges that are also challenging the European Union's capacity to deal with it and its internal coherence. But I would say that there is a link that most people in this room have been aware of for a long time, but is becoming reality also for others. Trade can play a very important role in fostering stability and economic growth in developing countries. I was in Tunisia a month ago. Tunisia is often described as the success of the Arab Spring. It's a very fragile democracy. They have been under lots of terrorist threats and others lately, but they are struggling. They are really wanting to do, and we launched a free trade agreement with them, which is asymmetrical, so they will have bigger access to our market, and we will also include a lot of development assistance to help them to build up their capacity to be able to trade. And of course, if people have the opportunities to stay in their countries where there is economic possibility so they can sustain their family and themselves, they will not have to move. And we're identifying lots of other countries in Africa especially in order to try to contribute to create those circumstances. Of course it has a link. It's not a quick fix. It takes years, but it's a way to liaise with those countries and also have exchange of ideas, of people, apart from the key economic advantages. So it is linked.
But sometimes what we see is we have short-term sort of emergencies that we have to deal with, and what you're talking about is a long-term agenda. And for us involved in the COP, we face the same challenge. Climate change is seen as a bit more distant in some cases, and we have more short-term challenges. Is that a problem today, or can you believe that the Union can still manage to focus on long-term issues?
Well, we have to. Today there is everything is so urgent. You have to fix things quick, and you have to be able to explain it 140 signs on Twitter. But life doesn't work like that, and things take time. But we also did not start yesterday. Those trade agreements have been ongoing, or negotiations have been ongoing for years. Some of them are ripe now, like the one with Vietnam. It would mean a lot for the Vietnamese people. Of course, it's also good for us. As I referred to in my speech, we have been negotiating for quite some year an agreement on green goods, where we try to eliminate tariffs on environmentally friendly goods, establish a list of hundreds of products. Hopefully that can grow in the future. That has been going on for a long time. Hopefully we can conclude quite soon with that. So things do take time, but they need to take time as well, because if you want to get it right, you need some quality in it.
In this conference here today, we will have two excellent panels focusing on two very important issues, as you know, digitalization and sustainability. And even in the context of the climate negotiations, we can quite often see that not new, but other actors are taking the lead: companies, cities, regions. If you're looking at the sort of trade agenda, what role do you think companies can play in order to support the political process? Is there any specific sort of role that companies should play and could play to really push the agenda forward in a positive sense?
Well, of course, without companies there wouldn't be any trade. So they are the bone of all trade agreements. And many companies, and I try to give examples, many companies have for years worked on a corporate social responsibility agenda, and have been working both here, we talk about Swedish company and French companies, to promote the values that we have here in Europe, in the countries where they act, where they try to improve the situation for the people here as well. We see also, as you said, cities who are involved. There's a big initiative for more fair trade, where many cities are involved. We try to reach out with them and see if we can cooperate together. So of course, I mean, without companies, there wouldn't be anything. And today there is a debate, and I hear it very often as I travel all around Europe, that people don't see why should we involve the companies in all this. Companies are not seen as something positive always. There's sort of a shift here in the climate, in the current debate, which is very problematic. Because of course trade can promote all these values, but more importantly, trade and companies contribute to the growth and the addressing the economic problems that we still are facing in Europe.
Maybe just finish on following up on that question. As you say, there is still debate, and people are expressing some concern about TTIP, and quite often, as you say, there is critique coming from maybe the environmental side in particular, but also consumer organizations and so on. Is there any validity in the criticism, and what is it that we can do in order to ensure that we can respond to the critique and maybe demonstrate that this is actually fear that we shouldn't have for these agreements?
Transparency, I think, to show that we are actually not part of a big secret plot to undermine democracy and consumer standards as we know them, but also involvement to make sure, and I and my team really try to reach out to people, to talk to them about their fears. People are afraid that TTIP, for instance, will undermine the economic protection, the environmental protection or consumer protection. But of course, in the US, they have the same fear. They also have very high protection, and some things are more protected in the US than here. We have the Volkswagen scandal was discovered in the US, for instance, and there are other areas where they have much higher standards. But we are not aiming to harmonize or to lower. We are only looking at regulatory cooperation in a lot of technical areas, very important, but where they're equal. So we don't have to be double testing. If I want to sell this in the US, I first have to test it the European way to make sure it doesn't burn up, the inflammability test, and then I have to test it exactly the same way again to sell it in the US. If one test was enough, I could save a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of paperwork. So these are the kinds of things we are working at. But you need to engage, and there, of course, company has a role as well to explain what more possibilities could an agreement like TTIP bring for them, and how would then that benefit so that they can employ more people, maybe invest more money for the money that they gain, and that would be beneficial for our economy. So engagement, inclusiveness, examples, and transparency. But the debate is difficult today.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Malmström, for joining us today in your tight schedule. So thank you.